All right, so we're recording there. All right, cool. Let's give him a call. Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here recording episode 210, and today we have a very special guest on, and we have lots of questions for him, and he has a lot of great YouTube content, so we'll be getting to that in a moment, so stay tuned. We're really excited to have him here, and we're looking forward to talking to him and asking him all sorts of questions and picking his brain on all sorts of things, including travel, languages, living in China. So it'll be a fun episode today. But before we get to that, I'm happy to be here with my partner in crime, my good friend Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. It is good to be here. My one bit of human contact for the week. It's always nice. Not contact. Let me be clear. We do not touch.
That's true.
But someone to talk to, someone to hear my problems, someone to lean a fake shoulder on. You could see me leaning a shoulder on him or sitting next to him in front of this camera on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. You could follow us there. Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. You could also email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. And then, of course, we would very much pijolsta. Appreciate 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. And yeah, that's all I got.
Absolutely. So, without further ado, I am very happy to introduce our guest for today. His name is Zack, and he is a YouTuber currently living in Jilin, China. I think I pronounced the tones right on that, but I'm not sure. We can ask Zack in a moment. And he has an awesome YouTube channel with a lot of different topics varying from living in China, Chinese media, Western media, has some great guests on his YouTube channel as well. He's also a snowboarder and has lived in, I think, a couple different countries, if I remember correctly, when we were talking. So we're very excited to have him on. And so without further ado, Zack, thank you for coming on, and we're so happy to talk to you today.
No, thank you so much, guys, for having me. I mean, I was really surprised you guys reached out to me. I mean, usually I don't get invitations like this because, like you said, I have many different topics on my channel, and so many people watch it, and so many people dislike so many things on it. So I was really surprised that you guys asked me to come onto the show. But yeah, I'm so happy to be here, and whatever questions that you have, I'm very happy to answer, and put it out in front of a wider crowd.
Exactly, and that's why we wanted to have you on. We really appreciate all the different topics you cover on your channel. Can you tell us, where can our listeners find your channel? And what types of things are your favorite things to make your channel about?
Absolutely. So if you go onto YouTube and type in the search bar Zack P, I should be the first result. And obviously my channel is still very small. I just went past 500 subscribers. So, like I said, it's very small, but it's growing.
Congrats, though. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, man. So yeah, it's growing at a steady pace. The topics that I like to cover, well, my personal favorite is, like you said at the beginning, I do videos about snowboarding and life in China. My number one is snowboarding. That's the one that I love to cover because I love snowboarding. I would go snowboarding every single day of the year if I could.
Nice.
If money and weather wouldn't be an issue, I would go snowboarding every single day, man.
Nice. How did you get into snowboarding?
It's a funny story because that's one of the reasons why I'm married to my now wife.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it was my first year in China, and me and a couple of friends, we decided on New Year's Eve. So we were absolutely wasted, like super mega drunk.
Okay.
Like off our faces completely. And we were like, man, we should totally go snowboarding. Like the mountain is literally next to us. We should totally go. And we had no idea how to snowboard. Like we had no experience in like winter sports. So we went the next day. We were a little bit like hungover. And we rented like snowboards and boots and all the stuff that you need for it. And we got on the boards and we just kept falling and falling and falling. And by the end of the day, we had like bruises everywhere, man. Like
I'll bet.
Every like possible place that you can think of, we had bruises there. And a week later, we were like, okay, we are not wasted. We are not hungover. We're going to try this again. And we're going to, like, absolutely smash it. And we did it. And 3 weeks after that, I asked the girl out, this girl that I was very interested in, because she was like really pretty Chinese girl, slim, slim face, and like nice hair, nice eyes, and all of that. And I knew that she was snowboarding, and I kind of wanted to show off.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to show off that I can snowboard as well. Like I can take you on a snowboard date.
Sure.
And basically that's how we ended up like meeting for real, and that was like our first date as well. And I still remember like every single detail. And,
that's awesome.
And I was trying to chase her down the slope, and I had a very like crappy board that I bought in Decathlon. I don't know if you know that store in China. It's like a blue big like sports store. And I bought a snowboard from there, and the bindings on the way down on the hill, they like snapped in half.
Ooh.
Like one of the binding parts snapped in half.
Oh no, that's not good.
So I was chasing her down the hill because she was so good at the time compared to me. I mean, obviously I'm better now, but that's just a side. That's just a side thing. So I was chasing her down the hill, and I broke my binding in half, and I just fell over, and like I almost broke my everything doing that. But it was a fun experience, man, and it's something to tell my kids in the future if it comes to that, because it's such a unique experience.
Go ahead. No, sorry.
Yeah, that's great. It's really funny too. I think a lot of people have the misconception with snowboarding, because you're on snow, you don't get hurt when you fall. And I've been snowboarding a few times. I'm not very good at it, but yeah, just like you said, when you got all bruised and beat up. But I would say it makes a big difference if you're going slightly hungover or if you're in a better state. So
I respect the follow through, though.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I feel like if I were to drunkenly come up with this idea, maybe I would try it, but then once I'd fail miserably, I'd be like, "This is why we don't make these decisions."
We've probably had a couple of those in the past, actually, some ideas like that, and didn't follow through. I'll bet you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, snowboarding and skiing, they're not that hard to. They're hard to get like master, but they're not that hard to like get to the point where you're not constantly like eating shit. And so even like when I've skied before and I've never been good, but like it took like I don't know a couple weekends to be able to be like, okay, I get the hang of how this thing works, even though I'm not flying down the hill next like these other people.
Right. How long had your girlfriend been snowboarding before you?
8 years. I think 8 or 9 years at that time. So we're coming up. She's coming up to 12 years now in total.
Oh, that's great. So is this in Jilin? Was that the first place you landed in China?
So the first place that I landed in was actually Beijing, and I was going through like a training process with a company.
Okay.
It was basically like a nursery. So instead of coming here as an English teacher, I ended up being like a nursery kind of daddy thing. So it was really weird. That's another story to tell for sure. So I landed in Beijing, did the training, then they basically like kicked me out from Beijing, and they said, you are going up north.
Okay. And then you went to Jilin.
Yeah. So they sent me to Jilin at like 2 a.m. in the morning. I was taking the night train, and I got here at 2 a.m. in the morning. So it was really dodgy at that time.
Right. And how long ago was that?
That was a little over 3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. So he's really had his boots on the ground in China for a while, Jared, as I was talking about. Yeah, that's why we really appreciate your channel and your experiences, because I think there's a lot of people who have, when I came back from China, so many people had a lot of misconceptions about Chinese culture and Chinese people, and so it's good to have you on the podcast today to talk a little bit about that stuff.
The thing about Chad too is he has always been a worrier, a nervous Nelly. So whenever he's doing something, he does a YouTube dive of it.
Probably too much research, too much YouTube,
and so it is, and I think sometimes when you do that stuff, it's easy to get pushed towards maybe the negative stuff, especially if you're coming at it from YouTube, which is, mostly American American angles of it. But I think there is something to finding videos like yours where it doesn't give. It's not like, no, this is why it's great to live here. It's just like, no, this is what's happening here. This is what it's like. It just gives a more realistic view of what's happening. Not saying this is the greatest place in the world, but also not saying, you know, you're not constantly, you know, in fear or something like that.
Right. And I don't think there is a greatest place in the world that I know
Probably
of.
not.
Not that I know of. I don't know about you, Zach, but
I don't think there's a greatest place for anyone. Well, I'll tell you what, there is a greatest place. The place where you feel the most comfortable. That's the greatest place for you personally.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if I say that Jilin is the best place, and you lived in, for example, Beijing for 5 years, you're going to say Beijing is the best place.
Right.
So it's a personal opinion and personal. It's based on personal experience, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like making the decision to go to China? Because I always sort of tease Chad a little bit about how he's someone that he loves to travel for work and stuff, and I'm like, at one point you're not coming back. This is going to be the end. But he still is like, no, I'm coming back. But there is still that strong like need to
travel,
go
get
somewhere
out,
for a long periods of time. So what is it for you that made you decide to even pursue something international or abroad, I should say?
Well, I was actually talking about this in one of my latest videos, and you know, one of the main reasons, and so many people are afraid to admit this, but for me, it was money and the lifestyle.
Oh yeah, I saw
it was
that.
money and lifestyle. Because in England, you know, I was making a decent salary, like £2,000 a month, and for a 20-something
that's not
kid,
bad.
For a 20-something kid, that's good money.
But that's not a ton to save, is it, in England?
Yeah, you can't really save from £2,000. So you know, rent and how, like, you know, car and taxes and just general like living takes it away like very easily.
Yeah.
And
that's true. I mean, that was one of the motivators for me as well to go to China, and that's one of the motivators to go back is that lifestyle. You know, I was very fortunate. I had I had a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment within walking distance to the university where I was teaching. You know, and it was in a nice little residential area. I lived in Jinan, which is in Shandong, which is, you know, a little bit further south. And it was a great experience, and the lifestyle can't really be matched in the West if you're making decent money in China.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
What do you mean by like a lifestyle, though?
Just like
because money is one thing,
right?
But what are the other aspects that make this lifestyle so much more appealing to you?
You want to take that one, Zach?
Absolutely. So from, you know, like I said, the snowboarding experience, like if I want to think about the snowboarding, I can't do that in England. Like my budget is not big enough to do something like that. The other thing is food. So I'm quite a big like foodie. I mean, I would like to call myself the hamburger like diplomat that goes around the world and you know tastes like all the hamburgers and everything. Like I used to work in a kitchen as well, so I used to make like food for like on a large scale for a lot of people, and like
gives you a different respect for food, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, obviously, food safety is something different in China.
That's true.
But you know, there are so many regions with so many different like dishes that you can try, like Sichuan with all their spicy stuff. You go to Xinjiang, the barbecue there. You go to Beijing for the Peking duck, and all of these
really
like
good.
Like all of these like, you know, different like culinary experiences. It's so unique that nowhere else in the world you can go to a place where you can see like this many like, you know, dishes that are so different from each other, except maybe America, I think. But you know, I never been to the US, so you know, I have a few American friends here, and they always tell me like, oh, Texas barbecue is this good, or like you know, steak at this place is so good, or this part of America, like this food is amazing. So I think in this perspective, you can compare China and America food wise.
That's an interesting comparison. I would agree, though, too, that there's a lot of diversity in food in China and in the States, without a doubt. And I think the funny thing about barbecue is, depending on who you ask, barbecue can be a controversial. You know, if you say like Texas barbecue is better than I don't know, like Oklahoma or Tennessee,
every like all these southern states claim their barbecue to be the best.
Right.
But I think the thing I have heard that Chinese cuisine is among the most diverse cuisines out there. I've never been to China,
super
so
delicious.
I just take people's word for it.
I was hoping he would come visit me while I was over there, but you know, since my contract ended and they sent me back here, we're here now.
Yeah,
so
right.
But
the thing about the U.S. is, I think we do have some unique things to us, like probably barbecue. But then I think when you start thinking about what makes a lot of the other cuisines great, you know, like pizza in New York, that's not really American. Like we have our own style of it, but it's not really American. Or like I feel like a lot of our diversity is that we get a lot of choices of cuisine, but it's not necessarily that these are all like American staples. Like you go to California or you go to like, you know, Southern California, you're going for the great Mexican food, for example, which is, you know, not perfected here in the U.S., obviously. Right. So I think it's a different kind of diversity of food that we have here.
Yeah. Zach, do you have a favorite dish in Jilin?
Absolutely. It's actually a Northeast favorite. I think you might know it because you've been here, and about 90% of the foreigners, they love this dish. It's called gobaro.
It's some type of meat.
Yep. It's basically sweet and sour pork.
I love it. I had it in the airport in Harbin. It's so good. Yeah.
Amazing. And you can get like different kinds of flavors. Like there's one with like tomato sauce, and there's like one with like honey and vinegar, and all of these.
I had the honey and vinegar one, I think.
That's the one.
That was fantastic.
That's the original, most legit one. That's like a Northeast special. So yeah.
And the Northeast also has some really good barbecue as well, if I remember correctly. Right?
I tell you what, the live stream that I was doing before this recording, I was actually eating barbecue, like Northeast barbecue. I went outside.
We actually caught a bit of it. We were watching that. Yeah, we were watching it for a bit while we were setting up. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, that was that's literally just outside my community. There's like a guy who knows me, and like every like 2-3 days I go to him, just chat to him, you know. He always offers me a cigarette and I always refuse him, like, sorry, I don't smoke.
Right.
every time he offers me a cigarette.
I wonder if it's a politeness thing, because I got offered cigarettes all the time too by the like security guards at my university. I'd always walk in and greet them, and my Chinese is not very good. I don't know very much because I was only there for such a short time and I haven't studied it. But I think you can speak some pretty decent Chinese, can't you?
Indian.
Okay, a little bit. Yeah,
a little bit. I mean, I can get by. So, like, for example, the barbecue guy, I can talk to him about, you know, general stuff like, what's up? Like, you know, what did you do today? How is the weather today? Or what do you want to eat? Or, you know, what are you going to do tomorrow, for example? But, you know, I can't really go into like
physics.
The 5,000 years of history with him because I don't have that much, you know, Mandarin knowledge.
Right.
But I mean, that's really all you need to, I mean, and well, yeah, I mean, that's really all you need at the end of the day. I mean, because you're not really, it'll come is essentially what I'm saying. What surprised me, because I've lived abroad for a bit, is how quickly it does, or how it can just come just from being around it. And do you understand better than you can speak it? Can you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I would imagine.
Yeah, that's no surprise.
Yeah, but there's also a lot to tone too. So you know, you don't.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing with me. I never say the downward tone correctly in Mandarin.
The fourth tone.
Yeah. And it was funny. I'll never forget, speaking of just knowing a language enough to get by, this was me not knowing but trying to pick it up. I was in a cab in Beijing, and the cab driver, I sat in the front, and the cab driver said, "Chifan lama," which is like, have you eaten yet? Yeah. And I was really confused. I was also kind of hungover, and I was like, and you know, this was like my probably second month in China, and he asked me, I'm like, what? And then I use my translator app on my phone, And I was like, have you eaten yet? And I'm like, no, I'm good, thank you. But then I said, how are you? I didn't realize what he meant was, how are you? So it's weird how those funny little cultural things that you don't know how it kind of plays out.
But I mean, I guess it's kind of similar in the U.S. How are you? Most of the time, more just means hello, you know?
That's true.
When you say, how are you? People say good.
Sometimes,
but everyone
yeah.
just says good,
Right.
you know?
Or fine,
And that's just more the hello for us, too. It's weird to be like, well, I'm glad you asked.
Right.
It's been a really tough week. It's like, I'm not really
yeah,
that
don't
interested.
actually tell me. Yeah, don't actually tell me. Right. Yeah, it's weird how that works. I had some students in one of my German classes a few years ago. We were in Germany for the summer, and they kept telling the Germans, "Hallo, wie geht's dir?" which is "Hi, how are you?" But Germans don't say that. And so some German people got really frustrated and confused with her. And we had to, it became a teachable moment because we had to be like, look, you can say hello, guten Morgen, guten Tag, something like that, but you don't need to ask everyone how they are because that's just not what they do culturally here. It's interesting.
Such a textbook thing. Like I used to learn German in Hungary at school, in school, but like, like wie geht's is just like so textbok. Like you don't ask it. I've been to Austria and Germany, and when you meet people, I mean this was like 16, 17 years ago, so a long time ago when I was in Germany and Austria, and I still remember some things, like some sentences and some things that you can say, but I've never ever heard any German or Austrian would say like wie geht's.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is the textbook way you learn it. And then there's always like some sort of slang version that you actually end up using.
Right. Was geht ab?
Yeah.
Was geht? Yeah, there's a lot of different variants. Yeah, that's true.
So I'll tell you what, I actually know a German one that might be a bit too dirty, so we might need to cut it out.
Okay.
It's called Hast du Lust dazu?
Oh yeah, do you
fancy it?
Yeah,
like do you fancy it?
Yeah.
That's something that I remember because there was a kid in our class who asked this question to the German teacher, and her head like she was a very pale teacher. Her skin was like super pale, and she turned red like a crab, like a lobster, like a fully cooked lobster.
And then like the kids in the class were like, "Oh, we need to remember this one."
Right. Yeah. You don't forget
something
those.
Good.
Yeah. You don't forget those. I had a German exchange student in my high school try to convince me to ask my German teacher what Ich hole mir gerade einen runter means, which is a pretty dirty sentence. It means, I'm taking care of myself, I guess, to put it nicely. And, I was a junior in high school, and I'm pretty sure if I would have been dumb enough to ask my old German teacher, she probably would have had a heart attack.
That's such a weird school thing that people used to do, like telling someone to ask, like, hey, ask them what this means.
Right.
It's like, well, this is clearly terrible. Why would you ask me to do this?
At the same time, though, it's a little scary because if you have a friend who likes to play pranks on you, they could say, oh, yeah, this word means this. And it could be like a dirty word, and you could just use it and not even know.
Yeah. I've done that before.
Yeah.
Chad, I wanted to ask you. I've looked at a good bit of your videos, and I was thinking when I looked
Chad or Zack? I think you mean Zack.
No, I meant Chad.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to. I like the videos about the 3 reasons you like and don't like China, and I just wanted to hear what yours would be off the top of your head.
Oh, my 3. Oh, interesting. Yeah. I watched those videos too. The 3. Yeah. I also liked your haters video. That's a good one too. That's a really, really good one. But anyways. Oh man, what I liked about China, and you'll hear Chinese people say this, and I'm sure Zack can vouch for me, the convenience. I have heard so many Chinese people utter the sentence, it's very convenient, or this is very convenient, because all the delivery services, all the apps that you can use, like Zack and I briefly talked about when we were texting, WeChat is super convenient. He's got his WeChat right there, does everything. So I would say the convenience. I would say that a lot of the people that I met were extremely hospitable and nice, so the people would be my number 2. Number 3 is just the sights. I mean, it's amazing to see just these skyscrapers and the lights at night, I got to see the Confucius Temple in Chufu. I don't know if you've ever been there, Zack, but if you haven't, check it out. It's definitely worth a visit. And that's also in Shandong. That wasn't too far from where I was living at the time. Got to see the ice festival in Harbin, which was one of the most beautiful. You've probably been there before, haven't you? Yeah. Oh yeah, the ice festival. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, the pictures that definitely did not do it justice.
You need a super nice camera, I think, and actually know how to take pictures. I'm just here with my iPhone trying to
Chad's
take a picture.
the opposite of knowing how to take pictures.
Right, exactly. So that would be my 3, I guess.
Okay.
3 things I didn't like. Well, and this is more my fault. This isn't really China, but the language barrier. It's difficult in China with the characters, and if you don't know, I learned a couple characters while I was there, and I really need to start getting to learning it again if I'm planning to come back in 2021. So the language barrier.
I mean, it is your fault, but it also is a very difficult language for a Native American speaker to learn too.
Right.
So it still is a barrier bigger than I'd say when you're in the Czech Republic even.
Yeah. Czech Republic was easier. Knowing German, I was in a small border town near Germany, Zach, so it was a lot easier to figure some things out. There was a lot of Czech slang.
I just want to say it is your fault, sure, but I don't. It's not fully your fault.
Right.
I would say too, because it is going to.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So language barrier, number 1. Number 2 is the sometimes you're unsure about food quality in some places. That can be a little irritating. I only had one bad bout of some toilet issues while I was in China, so that's good. One bout for 6 months, I think, is okay.
That's pretty good, yeah.
But I was probably overly cautious, like Jared said. I'm a warrior sometimes. But anyway, so I don't know what my last one would be. What I don't like. Well, I mean, you don't have the option. I guess the free internet. It would be really nice to. But at the same time, we've talked about this on a previous episode, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, Zach. I talked to a friend of mine, actually, that I met in Harbin when I was there for a workshop, a teaching workshop, and he mentioned that one of the reasons why a lot of Chinese people don't care as much that they don't have all the Western, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all this easily accessible is because there are Chinese equivalents. So it's like, what's the point? Why do I need Facebook when I have, other platforms that do the same thing or even do things better, maybe? But what are your thoughts on that, Zach?
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing is... Chinese people, they speak Chinese. They don't speak English.
Right.
Like that's a very silly and obvious one, but that's also one of the reasons why they don't need YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. One, like you said, they have the Chinese counterpart, and 2, because they don't speak English. Majority of Chinese people, they still don't speak English, even though there are training schools popping up every block. It's not common. Yeah, it's really interesting to be in an environment like that. But after a while, I think you get used to it. I think for me, after month 3 or 4, I kind of was in the ebb and flow of, all right, I just know this taxi driver, this person at the restaurant I have to communicate with, they probably don't speak very much English. Maybe they know a teeny tiny little bit. Some people I met in China also were just very humble and shy and didn't feel comfortable enough to speak English, which was fine. I mean, I tried to speak, Mandarin with them. Didn't always work. Sometimes it would. A lot of times, it resulted in me showing them the translation on my phone. But it got the job done,
Right. Yeah. And I think it also is a very... that's like a very Western view.
True.
Is to be like... What? Well, you guys don't want YouTube and Facebook and Twitter? Yeah. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to see all of our cool stuff? Or it's like... I think for a lot of us Westerners, it's hard for them to imagine. They have their own celebrities, they have their own culture and stuff going on in the celebrity world and it's just like, oh, you don't want to know about Brad and Angelina? And it's like, no,
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
And it's like, no, they have celebrities too. So I think that's just also some of our Western opinion in there. Right. But you still, you have a YouTube channel though, and so you do have the ability to put out. So what's the I don't know how to say it. But it's like, how do you do that then? Let me ask you that. In living in China, how do you have a YouTube channel and and load pretty often, I would say? Like you guys said, the free internet, the Western internet, is basically blocked. So there is a thing in China called the Great Firewall.
We did an episode on it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you guys are familiar with that one. So that is basically blocking not all, but some Western websites and social medias out from China for various reasons. I mean, Facebook was blocked because of Xinjiang, apparently. I don't want to dive too deep into
Right.
this because it's not my speciality, and I don't really like to talk about
Right.
this because these
No,
are
I don't blame you.
regulations.
Exactly.
So so if you want to get past the Great Firewall, you need a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network, and that is basically putting you on the other side of the firewall. I mean, it is monitored by people and by servers and computers, but it is totally legal. So if people say that it's not legal to use a VPN, they just don't know. It is 100% legal to use a VPN.
I
It
did not
is
know that.
not
Yeah.
legal to distribute VPNs.
Correct. Yeah. No, he's right. Yeah.
That's the illegal part.
Like we were told to load the VPNs on our devices before we came.
Sure. So
Yeah.
it's so is it illegal to go to blocked websites?
If you're using a VPN, so from my understanding, if you're using a VPN, you're accessing it, right? As long as you're not sharing it or doing anything like that, I've heard it's not really an issue. I could be. Am I wrong about that, Zach?
No, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, companies, they can actually buy it from government like companies that sell VPNs,
Right.
because there are so
Sure.
many companies like Taobao, which is Alibaba.
It's like the Amazon of China, basically.
Yeah, and you can buy things from that. For example, like Wish is just an English version of Taobao. I mean,
Really,
it's
I
not
didn't
very,
know Wish was. Okay.
it's
never
not
heard
very
of Wish.
modern, and it's not very
Right.
up to date. But
And I think the shipping takes forever too, doesn't it? Because it's coming all the way from China, right? Whereas I mean, that's what I really miss was I used Taobao a little bit, but I used a website. A friend of mine gave me the website Bao Pals. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that one's completely in English and everything. And that's what I used to order stuff in China. And it was really great. I mean, just being able to get everything you needed. It was so nice and so convenient. Whereas, here we do have Amazon, but things aren't nearly as affordable as they were in China. And yeah, it's definitely different. So you've been living in China now for 3 years. What have been kind of some of the like your favorite things about experiencing and being in China for so long? Because I think you get to see and do a lot of different things.
So on a personal level, the best one is that people still treat me like a celebrity. Like you go out and you
We've
start
talked
seeing-
about this before. Yeah.
like people see you on the street and they ask for your WeChat. They ask for photos. Like I was flying my drone the other day, and an old Chinese man. He came up to me. He was like 90 something. He could barely walk. And he's like, "Why go ren? Why go ren?" Which means foreigner in Chinese. And he's like, "Ni why go ren ma? Are you a foreigner?" And I'm like, "Shada." And he's like, "Where are you from? What are you doing here? Like, is this your drone? Like, are you taking nice pictures of China?" And all of these like welcoming things. And even after 3 years, you still get this because it still feels like it's just day one of your journey in China. On a personal level, that's something that that is amazing, and you just can't get enough of it.
You can even see it in your videos. Like when you went to the night market, you can just see everyone stare, like not everyone, but so many people staring at you in the camera as you walk by, and there was one. You were not at the night market, but you were walking around some big empty area, and there was a dude like with a fishing net like right behind you, but it perfectly in shot. And I was like, is that guy purposely walking there so he's in the shot or something? And it did seem like he was almost following you for a second. And I'm like, and it did make me think about Chad saying, where it's like, at first maybe it's a little unnerving. At least maybe it would be for me. But you are sort of this celebrity all the time, and people are sort of amazed just at your presence sometimes.
Right. Well, and I don't know about you, but I definitely met some people where I was probably one of the first foreigners they had ever met in person, which I think for some people it's hard to wrap their heads around, especially people who grow up in the West, in Europe or the States, United States, because, you see plenty of foreigners because you're living in the West. You see plenty of Westerners. But once you get over to China, it's different the way people interact with you and treat you. I think people want you to have an overall positive experience in China. I had a lot of people invite me out to dinner and different things, and I think Americans can be very hospitable as well. But I think it's done in different ways than they do it in China. From my own experience. So I've got to ask you too, Zack, how do you handle the cold winters so far up north? Because I was in Harbin twice, once in November and once in January. And both times it was. I like the cold. I grew up in Michigan. I mean, you more or less grew up in Michigan too.
I did. I don't like it. I just tolerate it.
Right. How do you handle
I'm just
it?
used to it.
I mean, Hungary is kind of the same like climate where I grew up. Well, I didn't really grow up in Hungary. I was there for like 13 years, so that was the first part of my life. I mean, it can get pretty cold, like you said. Last winter, it was the coldest was minus 35 in Celsius.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but
It's
cold.
cold.
It's cold.
It's
Yeah.
cold as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I can see Jared. He's like pulling his shoulders together. Like
It's cold
It's
in
getting
this
cold.
room.
Yeah, well, I got the AC vent open. We're sitting right by it here. I can shut
And I'm
it.
just
okay.
getting flashbacks. These are the few months in Michigan where it's gorgeous here.
Yeah.
And it's like we can't be talking about this stuff right now.
Right,
It's making
yeah.
me cold. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's in the mid to usually mid to upper 20s, sometimes 30s here, Celsius. So
Basically, the way we deal with it is obviously there's like central heating that the government turns on in
in
China.
November, right?
I think we had it in October.
In October. Okay.
Yeah, like the last 2 weeks of October.
Okay.
And
Gina,
it's
I
not-
thought it was November. Okay, but it makes sense that it's October by you.
Well, how does that work? How does the central heat work? That
So-
they turn it on and
So the way it works is in China we have these like super tall buildings, and that's just everywhere. That's where people live, and obviously at the ground floor they have like a big like box that they just switch on, so all the water can go up into all the buildings and all the apartments.
interesting.
And there's like a central like
so people
place
can't
where-
just turn on heat whenever they want. Is what I'm getting at.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
once the government turns it on, you can turn it off and on. But yeah, before that, I guess not.
yeah before that you don't really have access to it. I mean,
but
once-
you don't really need it.
Sure.
Once it's turned on, you can decide like how hot or how cold you want it. But
The thing is, it makes sense, and I'm sure they're never freezing you out in your place. But it is just like sometimes, as an American, and I think about all these Karens that we've been seeing a lot today. I just think about someone being like, "You won't let me turn on my heat when it's 90 degrees outside." I'm like, I have the freedom to control my heat.
Americans
whenever
are
I
very
want.
stubborn like that. I hate to admit it. I've noticed that more and more since I've gotten back here. The whole mask thing. I was talking to my mom about this earlier. In China, it's not even a question. When you go outside, you wear a mask. I think in Jilin though you don't need to wear a mask anymore, right?
not really. No, I mean we're super safe and super fine here. If you watched like the last like 5 or 6 videos, I wasn't wearing a mask. Even at the night market,
I was just about to say that.
so many people got tested in jilin, and
Right.
100% came back as negative. So
Right.
when people say that, oh, everybody is lying and it's not true, and there's still like cases in jilin and all around China, like no government and no officials are that stupid to
Right.
let these people loose and cause a bigger problem for themselves.
Right.
And
Right.
that's just logic. That's common
Sure.
sense.
Yeah, that's the same. That's a lot of what's going on here too. I'm like, what do you guys think is the benefit of people making this some sort of a hoax or something?
Right. Yeah, it's not
like
a hoax,
because
that's
it's
for
like
sure.
people are sacrificing their economy and people's ability to work for
People's
this. And it's
ability
like,
to travel,
I don't understand
everything,
what people
yeah.
think the benefit is to making this some sort of
Right.
giant hoax.
Right. And there are so many Americans who have turned this into a political thing when it's not a political thing at all.
Right.
This is all about just health and safety.
Yeah.
And I really want people in the U.S. to I think, China has done a lot of great things to handle this. The testing, people were wearing masks pretty universally. When I was still in China in early January, I remember going out a few times to get groceries and stuff. And I had a mask on, everybody else, all the workers in the store, and it was, no question. But here in the States, I've been seeing a lot of people in stores wearing masks, but not a lot of people walking around outside. And most people here haven't been tested yet, and so it's a whole different environment here. And so yeah, but I'm happy to hear though that things are better in Jilin, and that's really, really good. Oh, we got, I don't know if you can hear the clock in the background, Zach, but this is I guess we might as well go into the untranslatables, Jared.
I mean, that's a good time. That's great timing.
So the story behind this, Zach, just so you know, when we started this podcast a few years back, I was living back at my parents' over the summer, and this clock that we have is an old German cuckoo clock that goes off at random times. It used to be 4 minutes before the hour. Then we lost power a few days ago. Now it's like 3 minutes after the hour. It's really weird. But anyway, so after that, we started to use that as our little sound clip for the untranslatables.
I had Chad stick a microphone up to it and send me the recording of it, and now that's our sounder into untranslatables.
Yep. So you said you had a few Hungarian phrases for us.
Yeah, I mean, you guys practiced a bit of Hungarian while you were preparing for the show, or
I actually have. No. I have. I think 1 or 2 Hungarian phrases for you. I'm sure I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but you can help me out with them. So, but first, I want to hear yours.
Okay, let me just pull them up, and there you go. There's the first one. So I will try to keep the tones like. How do I say this?
Neutral.
So I will try to use the right tone so you can kind of guess what's going on.
Okay.
Cool.
Not neutral.
Okay, so here's the first one. Örül, mint majom a farkának.
Okay, and what does that mean? Like, what's the literal meaning?
So if I want to translate word by word, it means she is as happy as a monkey about his tail. So about the third person.
Okay.
So it talks about the third person.
Okay. Huh. She is. Can you say the literal translation one more time for us?
Yep. She is as happy as a monkey about his tail.
Yeah. She's very happy. Someone is very happy.
Does it mean you're a gold digger?
Not exactly. It means you are jumping for joy.
Oh, you're super happy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just jumping for joy. Because apparently monkeys, they jump around and they are happy that they have a tail. I mean, it's
right. That's cool, though. It's cool. All right, I'll give you a Hungarian one as well, Zach. I'm sure I'm going to butcher the Hungarian, but here we go. Miért itatod az egereket?
Okay, so do you want me to correct you with the pronunciation?
Yes, please. Yeah, we never have speakers on that speak these languages, so I'm super excited. So please correct me. Yeah.
Okay, so the correct one is miért itatod az egereket?
Say it one more time slowly.
Miért itatod az egereket?
Miért itatod az egereket?
Yeah.
Okay. And what does that mean for our listeners out there who don't speak Hungarian?
So if I want the literal translation, it means, why are you giving drinks to the mice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Jared, what do you think this one means? Why are you giving drinks to the mice?
I'd imagine it would be, why are you so sad, or why are you crying?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think he got it right?
Here's the problem.
Absolutely. Why are you crying, basically? Yeah.
Yeah.
We do this so much that I feel like I'm an expert level untranslatable.
We've gotten decent at guessing some of these. I will admit, we've had some friends on the podcast before, and they are completely lost.
Yeah.
Well, 210 episodes strong. All right. Do you have another? Give us another Hungarian one, please, Zach.
Sure, no problem. I actually have 17.
Oh wow.
We're not going to do 17, but we'll do some.
Yeah,
we'll listen to
obviously.
The 3-hour podcast with Zach.
So here's one. Az Isten háta mögött.
Which means
behind God's back.
Behind God's back.
Is that like out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, like super far away. That
Oh, wow.
nobody
Nice.
heard
Oh,
about
so
it.
super far away.
So
Oh, cool.
we have a few. What would be some English untranslatables for that?
In the boonies.
Yeah, bumfuck nowhere.
Bumfuck nowhere. BFE.
Yeah, I I don't like that one.
That one's
though.
not a good one. Yeah,
I
don't
guess
like
we
that
can't
one.
use that anymore. Now that I
Yeah,
think about
I don't
it.
like that one. That's not a good one. In Czech, I forget the Czech, but they where the foxes sleep at night.
Oh yeah.
I think in German
I
they say
remember that.
wo die Hasen und Füchse sagen gute Nacht, where the rabbits and foxes say good night. I think that's a German one. Yeah, there's a lot of those kind of middle of nowhere. All right, well, I want to give you a Chinese one, Zach. This is I always say this wrong, but this is a Chengyu. I'm sure I said that wrong, but it's a 4-character idiom in Chinese, and I think I can pronounce 2 of these words. We'll find out.
Oh, man.
Here we go. Du yi wu er. Du yi wu er.
Am I allowed to go and ask my wife?
Sure. You sure if you want to, sure. Do you know what it means? I mean, I'm sure you understand E and R.
Yeah, I understand those.
Yeah.
What's that? E and R.
1 and 2. So
Okay.
it means literally only and none, only one and there is no number 2. If you try to literally translate these 4 characters, there is only one and there is no number 2.
I think Jared is the expert in this one, so he might be able to take this one.
That definitely sounds like an expert level untranslatable because I'm a little stumped on that one too.
Right.
No, say this. All right, I'm gonna get it though. Say it again. One is one, and this is like a Matrix
right.
line.
No, there is only one and there is no number 2.
Morpheus. There is only one, and there is no number 2.
Right. Just think about it. I think it's a little bit more obvious than both of you are.
Is it related to relationships or marriage?
Parents?
Not really. No.
I was thinking a parent-child relationship
There's only one. There is no number 2.
because it's not religious.
No.
Because
Yeah, there's no religions.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not religious at all. I'm trying to think of a way to explain it, but there's no good way
there's
to
only
explain
one.
it without.
It's like there's only one right way to do something.
No. It just means you're unique. You're like the only one.
Of course.
Yeah, it means
Okay.
here. Let me look at my notes here. It literally means
Like
It refers to something that is unique. So the first character, I'm going to pronounce this wrong because the tones. This du means only, and wu means none. According to this, I'm sure I said those
only
wrong.
one and none other, essentially.
Yeah. So there's only one. Good. Give us another one, Zach.
All right, let's have a look. What do we have? Let's have an easy one. Kenyere lehet kenni,
Oh, that sounds cool.
which means you can spread him on bread.
Is that like when you're a pushover?
I thought it was someone that was very nice.
Do you want me to tell you what it means?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, sure.
what's the actual meaning? So it means somebody is very naive, and basically you can drag them around and make them believe whatever you want.
Gullible.
Interesting. Yeah, so they're gullible. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I wanted to ask you about something else on your channel. I saw this. This was, I guess, the last thing you posted. Was is this? I imagine one of your friends that is also a student. And is essentially, it seems like, stuck on his campus, and the people are saying that they've been quarantined for 6 months on and off, and they essentially can't leave. First of all, how'd you meet this person? Or can I ask that? I don't want to.
Sure. I mean, you can ask whatever you want, man. Like honestly,
I don't know. It's
literally
like
nothing.
covered up his face. I don't want to get him in trouble.
Right.
We were doing an English corner last year, just after summer, and one of my Chinese friends was organizing this English corner, and he wanted foreigners to come and speak to Chinese people, like kids and young adults, and that's how I met my friend. I think I can reveal his name now because he is free to go, and there's nothing bad about the video. So Daniel, he is from Uganda actually, and that's how we met because of an English corner. And yes, he is a student. He is actually in his final year, and
cool.
like he said, they've been locked in since basically January on and off for 6 months. The only time that they were allowed out was April, I think, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And only for a couple of weeks, and just daytime. They were only allowed outside during daytime. Like evening, they had to go back in.
Right. Yeah, I think some campuses do that normally though too over there, don't they? I mean, I had a friend that she worked at a university, actually in where was she? She was the station right before Harbin, Shenyang. She lived in Shenyang, and she her university she had to be in by like 9 or 10 o'clock every night. Had like a curfew, and that was before all this happened. But yeah,
maybe I'm feeling like such an American now, because I'm like, how could you I don't understand. I mean, now it makes sense. I'm not talking about not maybe it doesn't make sense. It makes a little more sense during a pandemic time, but just in general, I would be like, wow, I don't know if I could do that.
Well, I mean, you don't have much of a choice. If you live there, you do it, or you. I don't know what else.
So does he?
You can just leave.
They seem.
They're
true.
very straight up about this. I mean, so many times when, especially during my videos in the comment section, some of these like Wumaos, we can talk about this later if you guys fancy it. But they come to my videos and they say things like, "Oh, if you don't like China, get out.
Just leave." Yeah.
And they are very straight up about it. I mean, some people are very genuine about it, but some people are just saying it because it's the norm to say to foreigners.
That's a pretty American thing to say too, actually.
Honestly, yeah. It's funny. I think there are a lot more parallels that people don't realize between the U.S. and China. Like we talked about with food, I think there's a lot of things, most definitely.
So he seemed like a pretty positive guy about the whole thing. Do you think he holds? I mean, you've talked to him, I guess. He's your friend. Does he hold any animosity towards the school? Is he like, if I would have, or is he just like, well, it is what it is. I guess this is how it happens, or off camera, maybe is he more negative, or is he really that positive about it?
No, he's actually a super positive person. I think I said it in the first video as well. First time I met you, you were like, the sunshine in the room, because everybody was just quiet, and he was just talking and talking and talking. Like he is like the middle of everything. Like wherever he goes, he is like the light of the place. So he is definitely a super positive person, and like I said, I'm super surprised he was still like so positive during like this difficult time as well. Even off camera, he was like, yeah, man, I mean, it is what it is, but you just got to put up with it and push through.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's true.
It's a good mindset to have.
But I mean, he was put into a bind because he also wasn't had no sort of financial support for some of that time too. So it is getting to a point where it's like, I really have to concern myself with how am I getting my food, what's in that, and I think that's kind of unfair, I would say. And it's nice that he's positive, but it's like, I don't know. It's kind of maybe kind of sad, I guess, watching the video.
Yeah.
Because even just seeing, I mean, and once again, this is clearly just a guy too. But even when you were giving him the candy and just seeing, it was like, wow, this is like the greatest treat seems like he's had in a while, and it might be if you're stuck inside, confines of a university or something like that. Was there a point in that video where you guys first started talking at the beginning, and then you moved to another place? Was that because someone was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" Talking through the fence?
That was one of the reasons, and the other one was because it's like a mobile fence. I think Chad knows how these things work. If you work in school, like in front of schools, they have these like gates that just shrink and open up very wide.
Yeah, for the buses and all sorts of stuff going through.
And it just kept opening and closing, and we were like, you know what? Can we just move to another place? And
I got
like
you.
one of the barlands, they came out and they're like, so are you gonna be long? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
So we were like, you know what? We are actually leaving.
Do you get any scrutiny from people when you film or you mentioned the haters on YouTube commenting on stuff? I will tell you my introduction actually to Chinese YouTubers. I think that you'll get a kick out of this, Zach. Is LaoY86 and Serpent ZA. Those were my first two introductory. Like before I came to China, those were the two channels I watched. I will say I think their early videos had a lot of good things to say about China, and I do think they do produce some really good content on a lot of levels, absolutely, and I do like a lot of their videos, but it definitely, I think, gave me a bit of a more negative, skewed view before I came a little bit. And I'm glad, actually, I think Jared checked me on it a few times before I left. And he's like, do you really think, like, they talked about some of these horror stories of, somebody getting, like, blackmailed or whatever. And Jared was like, come on, man, like, that's not going to happen to you. Like, you've lived abroad, you're not stupid.
I was like, obviously, bad things happen, but you could also seek out the, YouTube is a very vast place, and I think it's very easy to get into a lane, Mm-hmm. But that's why I think it's nice that you could stumble upon a channel like this, mm-hmm. where it gives a sort of a mixed bag of opinions and feelings, and it's like, I like living here, but I'm also not telling you that you should live here or that this is the greatest place on earth. Right. But I'll tell you why I like it, and I'll tell you why you might not like it, mm-hmm. which I think a lot of people need, because I like to fantasize about where I would go. If I would move somewhere, but it was like, but then I think it's like, first of all, what am I escaping? Because it's like there's right. What do I want out of my life? Because there's going to be some sort of problem everywhere,
right?
And it's like
there's no perfect place.
Which problem do I want? And
right. Well, I think for work,
work,
it makes sense for you right now, at least, unless you found a job abroad. I think for Zach and I, what we've done work-wise, China makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
money-wise and everything. But anyways, I want to get back to this topic, though, of you being a YouTuber in China, and how do you handle some of these people commenting on stuff, and leave if you don't like it here. Do you just like ignore it? How do you handle that kind of thing?
Okay, so here's the thing, and it's going to sound really bad, and some people are going to hate me for this, but my ego is a lot bigger than their words. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. I like that, actually.
So I used to play soccer mm-hmm. for you guys.
You can say football. It's all right. It's all good. We're like one of the only. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys been to places, so you know that football is the one that you play with your feet.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not talking about egg ball or that weird American thing we play. Yeah.
No, the thing is, like, I like American football as well. I like the Giants. I'm a Giants supporter. So
oh, no, nice.
I don't know if you guys follow the NFL, but that's just my 2 cents on it.
Okay, nice. I follow college more. Jared's looking at me. I follow college.
No,
more,
I'm not looking at you for any reason. I follow Formula One mostly.
Yeah, he's a big Formula One guy. Definitely.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding? Me too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love it. It's coming back in a couple days or next week.
Yeah, next week.
I'm so excited.
Man,
so excited.
I'm gonna get back to Chad's question immediately, but I need to take a detour with this Formula One.
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah, take your detour, man.
Who is your favorite driver in the current grid?
Well, I mean, Hamilton is an obvious answer for me. We're big Hamilton fans in my house, and other than that, I'd say Ricardo. I find myself rooting for Ricardo.
I hate to interrupt, but I love the fact that you watch Formula One with Sydney at home.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend are both really into it.
All right, so here's the story for you. I've actually met Daniel Ricciardo in person.
Oh wow!
When I was working at a private members club, and he's a member there. I have pictures with him, his autograph and everything, and I had a genuine conversation with him. So just to make you jealous, I will send it to Chad after we finish recording. I will send you the picture.
Awesome.
It's about 4 or 5 years old now, but yeah, I've met him when he was still in Red Bull.
Was he a pretty down to earth guy? What was he like?
Man, he was super cool. He is mega cool. Australian guys are super cool.
Aussies are pretty cool, yeah, for sure.
And he's sort of known for being the jokester on the grid too.
Are you really Daniel Ricciardo? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm a little nervous to talk to you and everything, and I just want to ask, are you really that funny in person? And then he's like, he looks at me. I'm like, I like to think I'm a funny. Right. I don't know if I should say this word, but it's the C word.
Funny Funny cunt.
You can say it. You can say it with your. You can get away with it with your accent, Zach. I wouldn't say it because I'm an American and the way I say it just doesn't sound good. But
I
go ahead, say it, man.
So Daniel turns around and he looks at me. Yeah, I'm a funny cunt. I'm like, yes, you're 10 out of 10, man. Like at that point, he established like himself as my number one favorite driver. Obviously, before him, it was Schumacher. For many kids my age, but
I'm newer to it though. I've really only been into it for
which surprises me because you've been a car guy for a long time.
Yeah, I know. There's an interesting like divide though between the car fandom and the racing because there's no real comparison between like even the greatest McLaren 720S and a Formula One car. Like those are completely different levels, and so it's like a different sort of like a thing that you're enjoying with one rather than the other.
Right.
But I do regret that it took me so long. But now since I've been in quarantine, we will get back to your question too. That was a great question.
I'm not worried. You guys talk I actually have some things related to this. So I got it in the back burner. Don't worry. You guys talk as much as you want.
Now that we've been in quarantine, I have been going back and I've been working from home during this whole thing. And just on my big desktop computer behind my little work laptop, I just have old Formula One races on all day long. So I've been watching a lot from like the 80s up. And just trying to soak in as much as I can. It's been great. All right, go back. I'm done. That's all I got.
I am curious though, Zach. Have you heard what's been going on with NASCAR in the United States?
Oh my gosh.
I don't really follow NASCAR.
I don't either, but it's been big in the news lately because there is a driver named Bubba Wallace. Have you heard of this guy before?
Yes.
Yeah. So Bubba Wallace. Was he the one that actually initially... I don't remember if he was the one that went to the NASCAR initially to have them renounce the Confederate flag.
No, I don't think that was him.
It wasn't him? Okay.
Did someone do that?
I thought there was... I don't know. But anyways, the NASCAR has done all these very left-leaning things. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yep. And one of those was, is it left leaning or is it just the right thing to do?
I don't know. Left leaning.
I don't know. But anyways, they decided that they would ban all Confederate flags from their events. Which, if you don't know anything about NASCAR, to whoever's listening to this, it's very popular in the South. There are a lot of people in Michigan who rock a Confederate flag, and I don't understand it. I don't get it. So that's kind of funny though. NASCAR's been pretty big right now in the media here in the States just because of what they've been doing.
Well, and because there was the noose that they found in his lot. But
it wasn't a noose, right?
Well, that's what they say. But then NASCAR released a picture of it, and that's what I was showing you. This is what it was, and they're saying this was a it's the garage
to pull the door. Yeah, garage pull. It looked a hell of a lot like a noose.
But yeah, it has been in the media a lot. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I wrote that down to just bring
talk
it up
about,
to you.
Yeah. Interesting. That's cool though. So wow, and that must be so weird. I don't know if I've ever met somebody of that caliber before, Zach. That high up of an athlete, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
would be probably pretty starstruck and nervous too, I think.
At Universal Studios, I did see Grant Hill, who obviously used to be a very
player.
Popular basketball player. Yeah. And my friends walked up to him. I'm not a walk up to celebrity kind of person. I'm actually not a huge basketball fan, so I don't really care that much anyway. I'm like, I don't, okay, yeah, it's Grant Hill, I get it, but I feel like I try so hard not to walk up to celebrities, almost to a fault.
Well, at the same time, you don't want to be that person too, right? You know, that person. But that's cool. It's good he was down to earth kind of guy.
Yeah, and he does have that. He does have that reputation on the grid. Like he's sort of now maybe Lando Norris as well, but he's one of the few. Before Lando Norris, he's super young, maybe 20 or something, like 21. He was one of the few jokesters, and the one that actually seemed like had a real personality to him. All the other ones kind of seem like robots a little bit for the most part, as far as humans go. So yeah, what was your question? Because I thought it was a good question, but I totally forgot what it was.
Yeah, just life as a YouTuber in China, how you deal with these negative, comments from people. Because there were definitely some times when I lived in China where I would hold my tongue. People would say certain things, and I am not one to. I think if you listen to our podcast, you will not hear me. I'm not much of a complainer. I really appreciated my time in China. I'm hoping to go back there at some point. I love the country. I love the people. But it's not perfect there, and occasionally, I wouldn't say negative things about certain aspects of China because there are some no-goes. You don't talk about Taiwan. They say the three T's, right? Taiwan, Tibet, and Tiananmen Square, or Tiananmen, stuff like that. Anyways,
and the H's I add on too.
Right. Anyways, how do you handle this, Zach? How do you handle the haters and these type of things?
So, like I said earlier, before we drifted off into the world of Formula One, is my ego is bigger than their words, and by that I mean, I used to play football for a very long time, and playing sports, your ego is getting brushed a lot. Like, oh, you're doing really good, you're a really good sports person,
right.
You're gonna do great, blah 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 blah, and that pushes your ego up and up and up and up and up until it reaches the ceiling. Then you realize you're not that good. But in other aspects of life, that's actually really good because it's very easy to deal with things like that in my opinion. So it's my ego that actually helps me overcome these things. I mean, at the beginning, obviously, it was really hard to see hate comments and saying things like "Cao ni ma de shabby lawai" and all of these things like get out of the country and all of these bad Chinese things. And sometimes I get it on the street as well, from uneducated people. When I talk on the phone in English with my wife, for example, I can hear it on my other ear that they are saying something bad.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is all very
I just
American.
ignore it.
Yeah,
This is
you have to.
There's a lot of.
It's not super common. It happens once every 6 months.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
Yeah, so it's not that they are racist and they want you out of the country immediately. Right. It's just some of these old uncles and aunties, they are a bit sensitive about China, and they love their country basically, and they just want to.
We see that here in the States too.
But then you also got to think those are the ones that are saying it out loud. There are probably a lot of people that
think it
agree with them and don't say anything. I mean, that's
we see that here in the States at least. But
yeah, they're obviously always the loud people, literally, speaking in this sense. But then that would make me wonder, well, how much do people think this in general? Is just this one person that's ridiculous enough to say it to me in person?
I do have one other question for you, Zach, and this kind of relates to some of the people I've met in China and then Chinese people I've met in the West, in the States. I've noticed that a lot of the people in China, when they ask me about the States, I'm happy to tell them all sorts of stuff. I'm happy to share my own political opinions with people, but I always tell them this isn't for me to impart my beliefs on you or anything like this. This is just what I think and how I feel and everything else. But whenever people would ask me, well, is there anything you dislike about China? I don't know if they were just expecting me to say oh no, I love it here, everything's great. But there were a few things that occasionally I would say, just I'm trying to think now. One thing I think I mentioned to a colleague was I was surprised by some of the sanitary conditions of certain places in China. You got some dirty places in China. This is nothing reflecting necessarily on Chinese people as a whole or anything. It's just what you see over there. Have you had the experience where you can actually have an open discussion, a genuine conversation, really a good discourse with Chinese people, and also talk about some of the negatives of China?
Yes, but the thing is, you need to be in the right position to do this, and most of the time it's the family members that you can do it with. So my father-in-law, he's very open about Western culture, and he's like a world traveler.
Oh, cool.
He drove from China all the way to Europe in his...
Whoa,
I didn't know that was
crazy.
Possible.
All the way up
through
Russia and going down.
That's amazing. Wow.
So that was last year.
Doesn't matter.
In May, and then we met my father-in-law and my mother-in-law in Hungary in July. So they've been traveling for almost 3 whole months, and with them I can definitely talk about the differences and what things are not so great. But I think talking to just Chinese friends that you've known for a short time, that's a very difficult topic to talk about because people like to call them nationalists, but in all fairness, they just really love their country and they really like to show it. You go out on the street here, you can see the Chinese flag everywhere.
Everywhere,
Every single building has it. And I'm not so sure. I mean, is it the same with you guys in America?
We see a lot of American flags, a whole lot of them. Yeah.
On people's cars.
I would like to think. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would like to think that Americans, they love their country just as much Chinese people love their own.
I would agree to a certain extent. Yeah, I would agree. I think the way that Americans show it and the way that this belief manifests is a lot different. And I will say though, I think something that is to me as American, this is a stupid saying, but I love this saying. As American as apple pie is us criticizing and having discussions about negative things of our country. You know, whereas I think in China you tend to, at least my experience from even talking to my colleagues and my Chinese friends over there, is they tend to not really talk too much about the negatives or critique, especially people in certain positions. It's just not done over there. Whereas here, we have all sorts of, you have satire in newspapers and comics and TV shows and talk shows.
Yeah.
So it's just a very different way that I think patriotism is very different, I think, in China and the States. I'm not saying it's good or it's bad or it's better or it's worse. I just think it's different.
Yeah, because we have different, tenets to what we believe makes our country important. And I definitely think this whole idea of freedom of speech and freedom of press is huge here, and that you can't tell me what to do kind of thing is
very American,
very strong here in the, in the U.S.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you sent us a song for the Song of the Pod. Can you actually tell us the title? Because my character reading skills are absolutely non-existent. And
Same.
if you know the title of the song, and we're going to post it on our YouTube channel. We have a Song of the Pod playlist, so we'll post that there. We thank you so much, Zach, for sending us that song. It was quite a listen. I think you said there's some story behind it or something. Can you tell us a little bit about the song and the story?
Okay, so basically the song is about paint or painting or drawing, and that is the actual name of the song, just painting, which is hua. So shang for fourth tone, so hua, and that basically means paint or painting or draw or drawing, and the guy is singing about painting a picture about things for this girl. It's very metaphorical, the whole song. So
Nice.
This song caught my attention because during my first 6 months I went out a lot with foreigners and Chinese people. And we would usually end up in these Chinese bars where they only play Chinese music. And this song was
Been to a few of those.
And this song was very, very popular at that time. I don't know why, because this song is from 2016, and that was 2017 when I was going out with a lot of different people. And this song was just playing every hour. And it it really catches you. They play it over and over and over again, and just the melody of the song, and you start to understand some words and some expressions in it, and you really pick it up. So yeah, that is basically the short, long answer.
Oh, nice.
Great.
Yeah, that's awesome. My next question was going to be, have you sung the song in a KTV before, a karaoke bar?
No, I never actually tried to sing any Chinese songs before, but I tell you what, in the future, if I get drunk enough, I will remember. I will remember that Chad asked me to do that. So.
And we know you follow through on these.
You do follow through. That's true.
Man, I follow through on everything, on literally everything. People ask me to do a headstand on my YouTube channel. I will do it, even though I don't know how to do a headstand.
More reasons to check out Zach's YouTube channel.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I have so many positive experiences with KTVs over there. That's why I wanted to ask you as well, just because it's fun to go there. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but I just saw so many people over there, a lot of Chinese people who could sing really well. And I have a theory. I think it's because of the fact that they have a tonal language. Now, I'm not saying everyone had a nice voice, but everyone could keep pitch pretty well. Have you experienced that as well when you, I'm sure you've gone to a KTV or two in your day.
Yeah, I mean, I still go to KTVs when I can. Not right now, obviously, but yeah.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I like to go to KTVs. It's good fun. You hang out with friends, and it's a different experience. Something that is, not very common back in England or back in Hungary, for example.
Right.
And
Not really in the States either.
yeah, and I have to agree with you on this like tonal thing. Like, so many like aunties.
Aunties, yeah, the older women, older Chinese women.
Like, like the ones that we had in the school as cleaners. If you would send them into British Got Talent, for example, they would win it.
They'd kill
like,
it. Yeah,
immediately.
they'd kill it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like totally. And I'm so surprised, like these like older uncles and aunties, they don't like, try their luck, because in China they have these like what do they call them? Talent shows where people can sing. And that's where this song, the one that I sent you about the painting, came from. This guy auditioned for a talent show. And he wrote this song.
Okay.
He wrote this song by himself, and he performed it by himself.
That's
I think
pretty
it was
cool. That's a really cool story.
His girlfriend or partner, she was playing the flute at the same time.
Okay.
So the flute that you can hear in the background in the music, that was either his wife or his girlfriend. I'm not so sure. But
Very cool.
it's so like interesting to see, like, these people, they are locked in. Well, I wouldn't say they are locked in, but they are hidden in this country. And they have like amazing voices.
They're hidden gems.
Yeah, they're hidden gems.
Yeah.
If somebody from a talent agency is listening to this podcast, or they're watching
Right.
it, man, come to China, pick up some aunties and uncles, take them back to the States or take them to England or wherever, and you're going to be a millionaire.
Kill it. Yep, kill it for sure. Yeah, that's true. And it was funny because, I studied music. I think I have a good understanding of music, but I'm not a great singer by any means. And so I went to the KTV bar with my girlfriend in Beijing back in the day, and that's where I just saw so many talented people singing there. And it was funny when I would butcher like a Frank Sinatra song or something. They acted almost like I was this amazing singer, and I'm like, come on, like all of you are a million times better than me. What are you doing? Don't like, thank you for welcoming me here and being nice. But people would come up to our table and cheers and toast you or get around of drinks or whatever. Yeah, good times. Very cool. Well, yeah, we appreciate the song a lot. It's a good one.
You.
I have to give you a lot of respect as well, because I didn't think you were going to send it to me via YouTube when you sent it. I thought it would be maybe QQ Music or something. So it was so we can use that YouTube link directly. So that's perfect. So yeah, very cool. Well, great. Well, I'm sure it's getting a little late for you. I'm sure you've got some things to do coming up tomorrow morning. So I think we'll sign you off in just a moment, but I think this has been a great episode. We'd love to have you back again sometime in the future, Zach. Give us some more Hungarian untranslatables and tell us more about what's going on with your life and your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, we enjoy the videos, and we definitely look forward to more of them. Do you want to plug your stuff one more time?
Yeah, sure. So if you want to check me out on YouTube, which is like my main like media right now, if you type it into YouTube, Zack P in the search bar, first result should be me. Very little followers, just over 500, but I'm growing steadily. So, if you want the real China, if you want some snowboarding, some food related stuff, come and check me out. Leave a comment, leave a like. If you don't like it, leave a dislike. Haters are welcome.
Right. That's why we like you, Zach. One of many
A view
reasons.
is a view. Okay,
that's true. That is true. Yeah, Gene Simmons used to say any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Well, great. Yeah, we really appreciate a lot of the content you're putting out on YouTube. I think it's just great to see. Your vlogs are awesome. You're producing a lot of great content, so keep that up. We're looking forward to seeing more in the near future. And I guess, do you have any other questions?
No,
All right.
do your normal
thing. Well, then, just to recap today's episode with Zach, we really appreciate him coming on. Zach is a YouTuber living in Jilin, China, who has a lot of great culinary videos, videos related to snowboarding, life in China. So check him out. He also does some live streams. If you want to see some delicious barbecue, check that out as well. I definitely don't watch it, though, if you're hungry, because you will get even hungrier. Make sure you've already eaten. So we really appreciate Zack taking the time to come with us today here on the Untranslatable Podcast. It's been a great episode. Sorry, losing my voice here apparently. But anyways, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shishi, and do svidania.
Great. There we go.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Zack. We really appreciate it. And if there's anything we can do to help you, what I was thinking